I never thought I'd be the kind of person to find my life unraveling like a cliché soap opera plot, but here we are. My name's Emily, and up until a few days ago, I thought I was living my best life. Engaged to a man I adored, planning a wedding, and completely oblivious to the secret that would destroy everything. It started innocently enough. My fiancé, Ryan, told me he was heading out for the evening to catch the game with a friend. I didn't think twice about it. He'd been spending more time out lately, but I assumed it was just the stress of wedding planning. If only I'd trusted my gut instead of brushing off the unease. That night, I went to my parents' house to drop off some wedding invitations for my mom to mail out. When I walked in, the place was eerily quiet. I called out a couple of times, but no one answered. My mom had told me earlier she'd be at her book club, so I figured Dad must have gone out too. As I made my way to the living room, I heard muffled voices coming from the direction of the den. The door was slightly ajar, and I paused when I heard Ryan's voice. My stomach twisted. Why would he be here? Maybe he wanted to surprise me with my dad's help for some wedding detail. That's what I told myself anyway. Then I heard my dad laugh, a low, intimate sound that made my skin crawl. Curiosity got the better of me, and I pushed the door open just enough to see inside. What I saw froze me in place. Ryan and my father were tangled together on the couch, unmistakably in the middle of something I'll never be able to unseen. My dad's shirt was halfway unbuttoned, and Ryan, my fiancé of 3 years, was kissing him like he'd never kissed me. The sound of the door creaking alerted them, and they jumped apart like guilty teenagers caught sneaking out. Ryan's face turned white as a sheet, and my dad, well, he just looked stunned, like he hadn't considered the possibility of being caught. "Emily, this isn't—" Ryan started, scrambling for words. "Don't. Just don't." My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was flat, detached, like I was floating outside my own body. I turned to leave, but my dad had the audacity to call after me. "Emily, wait. Let's talk about this." I spun around, finally finding my voice. "Talk about what, Dad? How you're sleeping with my fiancé? How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months? Years?" Neither of them answered. Ryan was still frozen, and my dad had the nerve to look ashamed. But neither of them offered me the truth. "I hope you're happy together," I said, my voice shaking. "Because you've both lost me." I walked out, got in my car, and drove. I don't even remember where I went at first, just anywhere but there. The betrayal hit me in waves. The man I thought I'd marry and the father I thought I could trust had both destroyed me in a single moment. I've since called off the wedding and cut off contact with both of them. My mom is devastated, but she supports my decision. As for Ryan and my dad, I have no idea if they're still whatever they were. I don't care to find out. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hurt you the worst. And in the end, it's better to walk away from the wreckage than to stay and try to make sense of it. Update. This entire situation has felt surreal, and somehow, it got even worse. Let me start this off by saying, for those questioning the validity of my story, I get it. This whole situation feels like something out of a melodramatic novel. Ironically, I'm an English professor at a community college, and writing has always been a part of my life. Maybe that's why my words come across as too polished or convenient. But trust me, I'd much rather be grading papers on Shakespearean tragedy than living through one of my own. Life can be stranger than fiction, and unfortunately, this is my reality. I took a few days to process everything after catching Ryan and my dad together. I packed up Ryan's stuff and left it on the porch for him to pick up, with explicit instructions not to knock or try to see me. Cutting him out of my life felt like the only option, and I've been keeping my distance from my dad, too. My mom has been a wreck, trying to figure out how to salvage her marriage and support me at the same time. But then, something happened that turned my world upside down again. A few nights ago, I got a text from an unknown number. "Emily, we need to talk. You don't know the full story. Please meet me." Ryan. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him in a public place, a coffee shop downtown. I wanted answers, even if I didn't think I'd believe a word he said. When I walked in, Ryan looked terrible. He hadn't shaved, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He started talking the moment I sat down, and what he told me was something I never could have imagined. Apparently, my dad had been blackmailing him. According to Ryan, this all started about a year ago. My dad somehow found out that Ryan had cheated on me once, early in our relationship, with a mutual friend of ours. My dad confronted him privately and threatened to tell me unless Ryan did what he wanted. Ryan claimed he only went along with it out of fear of losing me. He said my dad manipulated him, using guilt and threats to keep him compliant. Ryan swore he never loved my dad, and that it was all some twisted game of control. I was skeptical. How convenient for him to shift the blame now, right? But then Ryan pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots of texts from my dad. They were explicit, coercive, and undeniably real. My stomach churned as I read them. One message from my dad said, "If you want to keep Emily, you'll do as I say. She doesn't need to know who you really are." I felt sick. My dad, the man who raised me, had orchestrated this entire nightmare. He wasn't just cheating on my mom. He was manipulating my fiancé and using me as leverage. I left the coffee shop in a daze, unsure of what to believe anymore. When I got home, I confronted my mom and showed her the texts. She broke down completely. It's one thing to find out your husband is cheating. It's another to learn he's capable of that. Right now, my mom and I are staying with a family friend while we figure out our next steps. She's already contacted a lawyer, and I've blocked Ryan for good this time. I don't care if he was manipulated. He still cheated on me and lied for years. As for my dad, I don't even recognize him anymore. The man I thought I knew is gone, replaced by someone I never want to see again. Thanks again for the support and advice. I don't know where I'll go from here, but at least now I can start putting the pieces of my life back together, without them in it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.